And I'm going to hand it over to Vickie from Parks.
Good afternoon, Vickie Sanders Parks Manager for the Chief Administrative Office. I'm going to back up a little bit and explain why we got involved in the Rubicon Trail. Back in 2000, the OHV Commission for the state contacted District 4 Supervisor, I believe at that time her name was Penny Humphreys, and so it said there were issues regarding the Rubicon Trail. So in 01, we applied for our first grant, which was a law enforcement grant. Up until 06, we used general fund, volunteers, and in-kind match as our matching funds. In 06, the board decided to switch to the SMUD funds for matching funds. And I believe it was because it was the only facility that we had at the top of the watershed, and it's also for the watershed management was why they decided to go with that. Since that time, for the past 20 years, unfortunately, I have been here that long, we've brought in about $4.8 million for the Rubicon Trail. Of that, we've only used $1.2 million of SMUD dollars over the last 20 years for matching funds. We use a lot of volunteers. It's amazing what the volunteers will do
Kim,
out
can
there
you
for us.
advance the slide because she's on a different slide?
Oh, I'm sorry.
So I'm not sure who's supposed to do that, but we're not looking at the
I get talking and I two things at once.
No problem.
You know
You
me.
just keep up with it. I think it helps
You know
the
me,
audience.
and I talk so fast. So over the years, we've used about $236,000 of in-kind materials, which is usually the rock that we put on the trail, or logs, things like that we've been able to use to save us money in the SMUD fund for our match. Also the volunteer hours. It's about $25 per hour for every volunteer that we have out there, which saves us, again, every dollar for the SMUD fund. We also have a matching fund, another trust fund, which is the green sticker in lieu dollars, and we have used about $280,000 of that. Now, of the grants that we apply for every year, we do always use education, but we never use SMUD as a match for education because the way I've always viewed it, and it would just be the way I looked at it, education was not infrastructure. So to me, I'd only used SMUD dollars for infrastructure, for what was going in the ground. I did not use SMUD dollars for the economic analysis or for any education. That's
But you have 4.8 million that you've used.
4.8
in grants, and 1.2 has come from SMUD?
1.2 has come from SMUD. So the total match that's over the last 20 years has been right around $2 million. So we've had a total of 6.8. So the way it broke out through all the categories that I've used, including the general fund from the early years, came to about 1.2.
Okay.
So with the economic analysis, it showed that this trail brought in around $16 million annually to El Dorado County and $57 million to the state. So I think that the return on investment of these dollars has gone a long way with for the county and for our tourism. And if you go back to the one other thing I wanted to point out is that we have a recreational element in our general plan. And in that, we have goal 9.3 is for recreation and tourism. And it also has an objective 9.3.4, which is for historical resources. So the board made the decision this was an important historical resource, and they have put this was how we funded the dollars. Now, the action that was taken by your board in 2012, or by the previous board in December, we signed the easement agreement in August of 2012. So that funding, where they tried to appropriate with the funding, was because we committed to a long-term maintenance on this trail with the easement that we signed with the Forest Service.
How long is that easement for? I mean, is that just
forever?
Forever. Yeah.
Unless one of the parties decides that we wanted to terminate it, but for now
it's just a
perpetuity.
Okay.
And Vicki, my tenure on this board, we've discussed this item at least a couple of times with a review such as this, as well as a discussion about the funds and where they go and what they do. So 12, the decision was made, but we've sort of reaffirmed it, I think, at least a couple times in the last few years.
We have.
Right.
And I think, for this program, we've been really, the grants fluctuate as far as what maintenance has to be done. Some years it can be really high. I mean, I can be close to that $200,000 that I need. But like last year, it wasn't. Last year, I only needed 70. So the money stays in the SMUD funds. We only take what we need. And, because we've been able to be really good with our dollars and with the volunteers and the in-kind, we've been able to save a lot and get a lot with a little, in my opinion.
Okay. All right.
So the future needs we still have the commitment to which we need to maintain this trail. So going forward, we have one of the obligations of the cleanup and abatement order, was they adopted the Saturated Soils Water Quality Protection Plan. And that is my guiding document for how we maintain it. We need to be sure that we protect the trail and we protect the waters of the state. That's why the maintenance dollars, that's where the maintenance dollars mainly go to, is rock armoring and putting in the BMPs, the best management practices. We have 475 out there that we need to maintain and keep up. If we do not, we do run the threat of another water board order, which we have tried to maintain it so we don't get ourselves in trouble, because the catch-up for that, if you let this go for 10, 20 years, you could be back into an order, and then the catch-up on that is a lot. So it's easier to maintain it as we go along.
Ed, are you going to take the next part? Good afternoon, John.
Hello. My name is John Arns. I'm representing Rubicon Trail Foundation today, and I'm also the...
Time's up.
We're going to
Sorry,
start
John.
you.
You're done.
Wow.
Oh, well, you were talking too slow.
Thank you for your time.
I get paid by the minute up here, so it ain't much.
Disclaimer, I'm also the Parks and Rec Commissioner for District 5. I want to read something real quick to you from the actual SMUD agreement. It says, SMUD's payments as described in Section 4.1 are to be utilized by the county for capital improvements to Ice House Road and other miscellaneous capital projects related to the Upper American River Project and its impacts on facilities owned or services provided by or any resource or other interest within the jurisdiction of the county. So breaking that down, it means that the intent was that it's for improvements to Ice House Road and other miscellaneous capital projects related to UARP, and that that last line says any resource or other interest within the jurisdiction of the county. So really, this body can make a decision to use these funds for anything that they want to. But the intent was to take care of Ice House Road and to take care of the Upper American River Project and resources within the Upper American River Project. So Mr. Smelser is correct. Ice House Road was specifically mentioned. I'm here to urge you to maintain the 2015 ninth payment to, or earmark, I should say, to Rubicon Trail for the reasons mentioned. Rubicon Trail is a valuable recreational facility. Our recent economic study says it cycles $16 million for this county. That's important. It also, when the Water Board released the county from their order, that didn't mean that they were no longer responsible for the trail. The county has taken responsibility for the trail when the board signed the 2012 easement, and needs to continue to maintain it to a level that keeps the trail viable for tourism, for recreation, and also keeps it from impacting the waters of the state. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, John.
Thanks, John. Anybody else wishing to speak on this item, please come forward.
Hi there. My name's Tim Green. Thank you very much to the board. I'm with the Rubicon community, I guess you could say, pretty involved with the volunteer base up there. I had a whole prepared thing here, but I'm going to change it up a little bit. I want to approach this a little bit different. I'm in support of the Rubicon Trail and the SMUD funds for Rubicon, and I want to touch on the history, the rich history of El Dorado County with the Rubicon Trail. We can go back as far as 1886 and talk about Mrs. Sierra Phillips Clark, owner of Rubicon Springs, working with El Dorado County back then to start a road into Rubicon Springs. That's how very far back and rich this is. This very board in 1887 established the Rubicon Trail as a county road. That petition was brought forth by E.L. Crawford. So just kind of establishing the relationship, I'm sure you guys are all aware of the Rubicon Trail with the county. Everybody's already touched on the most recent economic study. It's quite clear the commerce that the trail brings into the county. I mean, $16 million annually and $57 to the state. Those are huge numbers, and I think we owe it to the county and everybody here to keep that commerce and protect the trail for what it is. I can say personally, working with the community out on the trail, the resources that the county than you guys have put forth to the Rubicon Trail is undeniable. Seeing the effects out there, the education efforts, the sheriff touched on it. It's just something that needs to be perpetuated and keep moving forward with all of that. The benefits are just undeniable, and it's a great thing to see. Grant funding, we all understand these monies in general. It's a complicated process, but I honestly feel in this case, it's our responsibility, your responsibility to look at the best place. Obviously, that's what you're doing to put those monies and keep things in the right place. So I appreciate your time.
Yep, Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Anybody else?